I think my screen is visible. So in the last session, we were discussing about, let us do a quick recap about the last session. Okay. We have just started discussing about the SQL language. So SQL is an acronym for Structured Query Language. It was introduced by IBM. Basically, it was introduced for communication with the relational databases, right? And we have also understood about something like initially it was pronounced as SQL. So SQL stands for Structured English Query Language. S stands for structured, E for English, QUE is for query, and L for language. And this was renamed as SQL. If you are putting the language, if you are putting the Oracle language in the resume, right, make sure that you are using SQL. Don't use SQL. And SQL language is not a case-sensitive programming language. So it is, if you see the command like select star from EMP, this command is valid. And if you like replace that command with lowercase letters, that is also valid. And you can also do the combination of lowercase and uppercase letter, that is also valid. So this proves that the SQL language is not a case-sensitive programming language. So when you take Java, so you know what is Java. The keywords are very important. Example, if you take class keyword, it is always in lowercase. You make the changes, or if you represent that in a different case, that becomes invalid. So in this case, Java is what? Java is a case-sensitive programming language. And also in the SQL, user ID is also not a case-sensitive. User ID can be like anything, but password is always case-sensitive. Remember this point. And we have discussed about the sub-languages in SQL. So under SQL, there are many sub-languages. First sub-language is data definition language, DDL. You can call it as DDL. So under DDL, you have commands like create command, the very important command, the basic command. Basic command in the SQL is the create command, and you have alter command. So under alter command, you have you have many sub commands. You have rename command, you have truncate command, you have drop command, right? So in the latest features, you have the recycle bin, you have the flashback, you have the purge. Recycle bin, I mean, if you are accidentally dropping any table, if you are accidentally dropping any schemas, whatever the things that you are deleting it accidentally, that will be stored in the recycle bin. If you want to restore it, you can go for flashback. I mean, if you want to delete it permanently, you can use purge. Right. So we will discuss each and every sub language in detail. And you have something like data manipulation language. So inserting, updating, deleting. Right. Apart from creating, you do inserting, you do updating, you do deleting. Right. And the latest feature is what? Insert all is the latest feature, and merge is also the latest feature. Right. And also you have the data query language. So only one command is there, select command. You select, if you want to read something, you go for this command, select or read. Data query language. Transaction control language, committing it and roll backing it and save point. The last one is what? Data control language, grant and revoke. Everything will be discussed in detail. So today we will understand about what? We will understand about the create command. If you see, the first command is the create command, right? Create command was part of which language? Data definition language. So the first command is what? The create command. We'll discuss the create command in detail today. Right? Create command. So the create command in SQL is used to create various database objects. You can say that the create command in SQL used to create various database objects. So what are the database objects that we have? Examples. examples, if you want to create a table, you will use create command. If you want to create a table, if you want to create views, if you want to create synonyms, okay, if you want to create what, if you want to create a sequence, if you want to create something like indexes, you can create schemas. To just get acquainted with these words, okay, there will be a lot of things that you do by using the create command. These are the major things that you do. Table is the very important thing that you do. You will creating a table very often, right? So we will understand each and every thing in detail under the create command. So let us say you want to create a table. How to create a new table in the Oracle database? How to create a new table in the Oracle database. Okay, the syntax. Syntax is very simple. You will just use the create command. Okay, use the create command followed by what? You need to give a command like the table command. So you can give the user defined table name. Okay, then column name, one, let me say. Then for this column you need to define a data type. Okay, and for this data type you will be having this size. Okay, and also you can have constraints. You put a comma here. So you can have any number of columns. There is a restrictions for number of columns. This is a syntax. Okay, so I want to tell you, see, let me make it very simple. Let me take only, if I want to create a table of only one column. Okay, this is the command. Now you see the execution flow. See, let us assume that the execution starts from left to right. Okay, so create. So you are giving a command like create. So what you want to create? You want to create a table. So these two things are what? Predefined. To create table. Okay, you are just giving instructions by using the SQL language, create table. And from here, table name. Table name is what? Table name has to be given by the user. Okay, so the moment it come across this comments, table name, okay, a table will be created first of all. Okay, and you can name this table as per your requirement. For example, if you want to give the table name as employees, okay, a table will be created by the name what? By the name employees. Okay, followed by what is the command that you are giving here? Table name. What is the command? Column name one. You can give any column name. For example, in the employee, you will be having by default, you will be storing the names of the employee. Let us say that E name. This is the column name that you are giving. So a column will be created. A column will be created. by the name of what? ename. A column will be created, right? And you are also choosing something like a data type. You will see what is data type. Data type is something like what kind of data that you want to store. What kind of data? For example, you want to store a character, you want to store a sequence of character, you will be using varchar2. What kind of data? If you want to store a string, if you want to store sequence of characters, okay, so typically we will be using varchar2. We will see these things in detail. Just try to understand the logic behind the syntax. So what kind of data? So you can have the numerical data that can be stored in a column. You can have what? You can have the string data like Balaji. You can store that in the column. The string data. You can have the date data. So typically you can store the current date in the particular column, right? And you can store something like the floating point data, something like this, right? So you can store something like something like a simple gender data which is representing male or female, right? So this many data types. If you want to store this, so you need to store this in a particular data type. Okay, this is representing the whole number, so there is a particular data type for this to represent the whole numbers. Since you want to represent a sequence of characters, since you want to represent the string under the data type, you would be using something like var2, right? And also we'll declare the size here. Size it is up to the requirement. Okay, it can be like 20, 30, whatever it is. Okay, these constants are talking about what something like you will be having some. It is an optional thing. It is not the compulsion. Okay, it is an optional. It is an optional field. Constants. You don't use this very often. There are some cases where you will be using these constants. There are some constants like primary key, foreign key. These are the examples. Foreign key, not null. Some constants are there. Okay. So when you want to create a table, you want to take care of all these things. Okay. After taking care of this thing, a table will be created by the name that you are giving here. Okay. Same as the table name that you want to use, and the column will be created, right? So this is how the things are going to happen behind the scenes. So what are the major things that you want to observe here? Okay, please note these points. A table is a collection of rows and columns. So if you observe here, we are just creating a table. We are just creating a table. Okay, columns will be created by the end user. You are going to create the column names. You are going to give the column names, right? So the rows will be created the moment you start inserting the data. Moment you start inserting the data, the rows will be created, right? By using the create command, you just do what? You just create the table name, and you just give the column name of which data type, and of size, and also the constants things are the constant things. These are optional things. Okay, the rows will be created the moment you start inserting the data. Okay, now there are zero rows, no rows now. Okay, because you did not insert the data. You have just created the table, right? So note what we have to note here. A table is a collection of rows and columns. Of course, the first point. The table is the collection of what? Collection of rows and columns. Okay. Second point is very important. A table contains minimum one column. A table can have a minimum of one column, okay, and a maximum of 1000 columns. Okay. So there are some restrictions for the columns, guys. So when someone is asking you what are the restrictions for, is there any restrictions for number of columns? Yes, there are some restrictions. What is it? The minimum you can have one column, and the maximum you can have up to 1000 columns, not more than that. Okay. And how many rows you can have? A table can have how many rows? Okay. A table can have unlimited rows. Table can have unlimited. There are no restrictions for number of rows, but there are some restrictions to have the number of columns. So in the real-time application development, really there would not be any requirement for you to create a table that is going to have more than 1000 columns. So this is also not achievable in the real time. At maximum, you may be having 50 columns. That is also a big deal. So this number is what? This number is a very big number when you, in the context of creating the columns. You don't create 1000 columns, such things like that in the real-time application. A very big number. Okay. Now, let us understand about the you have understood about what is this column name. Let us understand about this data type. Before understanding about the data type, okay, you are able to create a table, you are able to create a column. So a table is created, okay, and you are able to what? You are also able to create columns. Let us say that you have created 3 columns. Okay, X, Y, Z. Column, this is column X, this is column Y, and this is column Z. And the name of the table is ABC. Let us say that the table name is ABC and you have created 3 columns X, Y, and Z. And you have data something like, for example, let me take something like 1, 2, 3. Okay. Let me say take a data like let me take something like 87.89. Let me take something like again 98.92, 923. Okay. Let me take something like 14 January 2025. I have this many data sets. So I am going to take a variable X, okay, and I want to store, for example, if I want to store this 1, 2, 3 inside this variable X. If I want to store this 1, 2, 3 inside the variable S, I can store it. And also if I want to store Oracle inside this variable S, I can also store it. But before storing it, I want to inform this variable X what type of data that I'm storing it. Okay, this X variable has some memory. This X variable is going to store some value. So this is the space where the value will be stored. X variable is going to store some value, but you cannot assign the value directly. The value cannot be assigned directly. This 1, 2, 3 cannot be assigned directly. Okay, before assigning this, you want to say what kind of data is this. For X, this is nothing but a raw data. 1, 2, 3 can be a raw data. 87.89 can be a raw data. Okay, and 14.025 can be a raw data. So it cannot differentiate what kind of data is this. It cannot really differentiate what kind of data is really this. It's your duty to specify what kind of data that we are dealing with. In this case, we have created 3 columns. You have column X, you have column Y, you have column Z. Okay, before creating the column, or at the time of the column creation, you should also specify. So look at the syntax here. You are defining the column name followed by the data type. What does it mean? So when you are, let us take the same command. Okay, let's take the same command. What is this command says? What is this syntax says? Boss, you can create the table. The first syntax is very clear. What is it? So create command. What do you want to create? You want to create a table. Okay, table is created. You want to give the table name. Okay, table name is given. You want to give the column name. Of course, you are going to give the column name. Along with that column name, please ensure that you are defining the data type also, which means what kind of data that you want to store really. What type of data that you want to store. For example, if you are creating the column name X, if this X is a column, this X is a complete column, And you also should define what kind of data this column will be storing. You should specify that. It can be a numerical data, it can be a string data, it can be a raw data, it can be a long data, it can be a float data, it can be a character data, whatever it is. So you are ensuring that the data that you are going to store is going to be what? Completely structured and organized. You want to ensure that what type of data is being stored in a column to make it organized. Okay. So if you are storing a data, okay, if you take a column, okay, and you are storing data like Oracle, if you are storing data like 8.79 in the column X, you are storing data like 98.23923 and you are storing something like date. So is it really organized? It does not make any sense, right? Because it has a lot of the clumsy data, it has a lot of the raw data. The data is not specific to the column name. Not specific to the column name. That's why they are saying along with the column name, define the data type. So we have to understand what are the data types. What are the data types that is available in the Oracle database? So let us start trying to understand the databases. Data types. What are the data types that are available in the Oracle? Okay. Next part. Data types in Oracle. Okay. So what is a data type? I can say that the data type is an attribute to specify what kind of data is being. I can say that data type defines the type of data that can be stored in a column of a table. In other words, we can say that what type of data that needs to be stored in a column is called as what? Is called as what? Data type. Data type. Very simple. What type of data that one has to stored in a column is also is called as what? Is called as what? Data type. So there are many data types. Okay, Oracle supports many data types. Oracle supports many data types. Many data types. They are, okay, you have what? You have something like the numeric data types. Let me list out here. Numeric data types. Second one, you have what? You have string or character data type. String or character data type. Okay, and you have something like long data type, and you have something like date data type, which is going to store the dates. Fifth one, you have what? Raw and long raw data types. You have something like the log data type. Sixth one, LOB, log data types. Log stands for large objects data type. OB itself stands for objects. Okay, large objects. LOB, large object data type. There are six data types in the Oracle is going to support all the six data types. All these following six data types. Let us understand one by one. Understand one by one, because to understand the table creation, to understand about the table creation, we have to understand all these things. Okay? We don't have any issues with this create command. We do not have any issues with the table command. So we don't have any issues in giving the table name, followed by, okay, the column name. We don't have any issues. You can give the column name. So you need to understand data type, and you need to understand the size, and you also need to understand the constraints. So these three things you need to understand, so that the complete creating command on table will be understood. Isn't it? That's why we are learning data types. So data types, numeric data types, first one. Focus here. Numeric data. Numeric data types. So under numeric data types, you have something like integer data type. You have what? You have what? Number data type. Number. So number is going to accept two arguments, p comma x. Let us understand this. Numeric data types. First one is what? Integer. Integer. This is going to store only the whole number values, only the integer values, only the integer values. I can say that the data type, the integer data type is what it is going to store. It stores only the integers, or it can store, I can say that it can store any number. It can be a positive or negative. It can store any number. When I say number, it can be positive number or it can be negative number without the fractional part. Without what? Without the fractional part. Bro, are you able to hear me? Balaji?
Yes, sir.
If you find any issues, you can let me know, okay? It stores only the integers. 1 minute. It stores only the integers, and it can store any number, positive number or negative number, without the fractional part. Without the fractional part. Okay, and also they have given the maximum size and the minimum size. The maximum size. The maximum size is the minimum size, you will say. The minimum size is, okay, I can say that the size is from the range is from minus 10 to the power of 38 plus 1 to, okay, plus 10 to the power of 38 and so on. Okay, this is the range. You can store any values between this range. It is a very big number. So 10 to the power of 38 is what? A very big number. The maximum range is this and the minimum range is this. A very small number. 10 to the power of 38 is a very small number. Right? So this is all about what? This is all about the integer data type. So sir, what is the example? What is the example? So if you want to create any table, let us say that I want to create a table, right? So from this, you will try to create a table, okay? So since we have understood about the integer data type, from this I want to create a table. So what is the syntax for creating a table? Very simple. You take the create command, give the table name, right? Followed by what? Followed by what? You can give the actually you can give the what? You can give the column name. Okay, let me give the table name first. Or let me give the table name like testing, test underscore integer. So this is the table name. We are testing the integer. test underscore integer. Okay. Followed by I want to give any column name, numbers. Let me give the column name as numbers. Okay. And I want to choose the data type as what? Integer. By I am just converting the syntax into the reality. It's a syntax, isn't it? Syntax has been converted to what? Convert to the reality. So by this, what will happen behind the scenes? Okay, the execution basically, okay, just imagine the execution from left to right. You're using the create command. What you want to create? You want to create a table. Okay, what is the name of the table? Name of the table is what? Test, right? So a table will be created by the name of what? By the name of test. Okay, test int, I mean, not test int, test underscore int. Okay, and what is the column name? Column name is what? Numbers. You can represent in lowercase or you can represent it in the uppercase, no issues. Or you can do the combinations. This is a column name. Column names are what? Numbers. So what kind of data that you want to store? What type of data that you want to store? So this column, okay, this column that you have created can store what? Can store only the integer data, integer values. So what are the integer values? Only the data type that is falling within the scope, which I have just explained you. You can store positive numbers, you can store negative numbers without the fractional part. Okay, having said this, okay, let us say that I have something like 282. Let's say that I have something like you know, let us say something like I have something like Balaji. Let's say I have something like 14, I mean 1501 2024. Okay, you can store only the data. Okay, you can, this data is completely accepted. The first data is completely accepted to be stored here. Okay. If you try to store the floating point data, not acceptable, because what the rule says, you cannot store the fractional part. You want to store the string data, not acceptable. Okay, string data, Balaji, not acceptable. You want to store the date data, not acceptable. Right? Let us do this. Okay, let me establish the connection first. I have just opened the SQL. Let me establish the connection. System followed by root. The name and the password. It has been connected successfully. What is the syntax for creating a table? Create table. What is the name that we have taken? Test integer. Name of the table is test underscore int. Okay. What is a column name? Followed by the column name. It's a column name. Column name is what? The numbers. What kind of data that we are choosing? Integer. Integer data. Okay, and leave it with a semicolon. It says table created. So you are saying that, hey, I want to create a table. I want to create a table of the name of the table is test int and the name of the column is numbers, which is very specific. You are being very specific. What you are saying, you want to store the integer data type only. The table is created. So behind the scenes, the table will be created. So what is the proof? You are getting a response. Table created response. Right? So if you want to see the table, okay, just use this command. For now, just try to understand. There is a command called select all. Star is representing all from name of the table, test underscore int. Okay. You will be getting what? You will be able to see the if there is any data, you will be able to see. But if there is no data, the result is going to be what? No rows selected. So for the time being, let us insert some data. We will explain you about this insert query. Simply, you are just inserting some value. You want to insert what? Insert some values. So you will be using a command like insert into. Okay, insert into what? Insert into table name. Okay, test integer. Test integer is the table name. Followed by, you will give what? You will give numbers. You will give the column names. Inside the table name, inside the numbers column, you want to insert what? You want to insert some values. Okay, I want to insert values like 100. Select command I have chosen. Insert command. Insert. You want to insert into the table name. You are specifying the table name, followed by what? Followed by the column name. So you have chosen the table name and the column name, followed by what values that you want to pass. Firstly, you want to pass 100. Okay. It says one row created. It says one row created. So because of this, so don't worry about this insert command. We will be seeing these things in detail. We are trying to understand the integer data type. So that's why I'm giving you an example. So what does it say is, you're using a command, insert command. Just think like insert is going to insert the values inside the table. Insert into which table? Test integer table. So this is the test integer table, test underscore int. Okay. Under which column you want to insert, you need to choose the column name, numbers. So numbers, matching, right? What are the values that you want to insert? You want to insert 100. So 100 will be inserted. Okay. When 100 is getting inserted, you will get a message like this: one row created, because a new row is getting created. Now a new row is getting created because of this. A row is getting created. That's why in the console you will get something like one row created. It's a response for the end user. Likewise, if you want to insert few more values, for example, you want to insert instead of 100, you want to insert 1000. Okay. Because of this, again you are getting a response like one row created. Because of this request, what will happen behind the scenes? Again, you are inserting the value. This time, okay, let us take this control. Try to insert into what? Insert into table name. Okay, which column? Numbers column. What is the value? Value is what? 1000. 1000 will be inserted. After inserting it, you will get a message. A new row is getting created. Okay, this is the row number 1. This is the row number 2, right? So you will get a message in the console as a response. What is that? One row created. One row created. If you want to see the actual values that is there in the table, you will use the select command. For now, just try to don't worry about select command much. Don't worry about insert command much. Just worry about the create command. Okay, select star from the table name. Let's go. You see numbers, you have 100, you have 1000. If I'm trying to, we are very specific that we want to insert only the numbers. How that specification has been given, so you are using the integer data type, isn't it? If you want to violate that, if you're trying to violate that, instead of inserting integer, I want to insert Balaji. See, it says invalid number. This SQL is ensuring that if you're trying to insert any invalid data, so why the table is created, so why the column is created? Column is very specific that only numbers needs to be inserted, but you're trying to violate that. You're trying to give a string data. When you're giving a string data, the response is very clear. It says, hey boss, it is not a valid number. Please try to give the valid number. So don't you think that this SQL is ensuring now to insert the right data? Data type is ensuring that the right data is getting inserted because of the data type. If you're inserting the wrong data, this is what happening behind the scenes. Wrong data, when you insert the wrong data, it is giving you error message. So now it is confirmed that so the integer data type is going to store only the integer numbers. But you are trying to give what? You are trying to give something like the string value. So this is completely invalid number. So now let us see one more thing. Okay, what if I try to insert something like see, this is meant to insert only numbers, but if I'm trying to insert a floating point number 678, now you see still it is creating a row. Now I will tell you what is happening behind the scenes. So this is the value I want to insert. Okay, what I have just said, sir, you have said that the integer data type is going to store only the whole numbers from negative to positive, but it will not store the fractional part, you said. But you are able to insert the fractional value also. How is it possible, sir? You are able to insert the fractional value also. How is it possible? Very simple. No matter what data you are inserting, if you are inserting the fractional data, right? So you want to insert 10.678. This 10.678 will not be inserted as a floating point data. This will be rounded off. This will be truncated, or I can say this will be rounded off. Okay. This floating point value will be converted to the equivalent integer value, which is something like 11. Will be rounded off, completely will be rounded off. and the integer value will be inserted. But in the real-time application development, if you are developing an Oracle application, sometimes there will be chances that the end user is going to pass the integer value. So you need to handle that. Okay, so this Oracle will handle that internally. Okay, but it is not accepted. It's our job to ensure that the end user is inserting the right value. We are accepting the right value. So, but still, the Oracle will say, okay, no issues. This is, since it is also a number, but it is a floating point. Let me take only the number. Okay, if you're inserting 10.678, which is a floating point, Oracle will be like, okay, boss, no issues. Since it is also a number, we'll consider only the integer part. Making sense? But this is completely not acceptable. You cannot insert the data type that is out of the scope. Balaji or something like, something like Suresh is out of the scope. Right? Now we have understood. Now let us also try to violate this. Focus here. The range is from, we are saying that range is from 10 to the power of 38. 10 to the power of 38 is 10 followed by how many zeros? 10 to the power of 38 plus 1 you are saying. For example, if I say 10 to the power of 1, 10 to the power of, let us say 10 to the power of 2. 10 to the power of 2. When I say 10 to the power of 2 minus 1, when I say 10 to the power of 2 minus 1, the answer is going to be what? 99. Don't you think so? So 10 to the power of 2 is 100 and minus 1. Sorry, plus 1. I'm sorry. This is plus 1. Minus 10 to the power of 2 plus 1. Okay. When I say this, minus 10 to the power of 2 plus 1, the answer is going to be what? Minus 99. Okay. When I say minus 10 to the power of 38 means 38 digits. You need to use 9 for 38 times with negative number. It's just like this. Insert into, I want to insert a maximum negative value. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I'm inserting a big value that is out of the range. But still the row is getting created. Why? But still the row is getting created. And if you see, it says you have inserted a value like something e to the power of 51. Very big number. But still you are able to read. Sir, you have just said that it is capacity is within this. The boundary is within this. But there is a violation here. But the Oracle is not saying anything. Okay, you can insert it, but you cannot perform any manipulations here. It is okay to insert here. Data will be inserted, but in future when you are performing any manipulations, when you are making any mathematical calculations, there you will get error. At the time of insertion, it will be like, okay, it will be staying calm. But at the time of performing any manipulations, like let us say you want to perform a manipulations, like you want to multiply all the numbers, you want to multiply all the numbers by 2. When you do that manipulations in the future, you get an error. That's why you have to ensure that the data is within the range. This is one of the exceptions. This is one of the exceptions that you need to consider. You can also insert the maximum value, but it is not recommended because at the time of manipulation, it will give you an error. So these are all the possible combinations that we have discussed for the integer data type. Okay, and the next data type is what? Next data type is something like you have the number data type. Number data type. Number is going to take the two values P and S. Okay, so what is the explanation that I can give? Please be informed that the number data type is stores what? Stores both the integer and float values. Integer and float values. Okay, what is this P and S? Please, okay, what is this P and S? If you represent a number data type by using P, for example, let me say that you want to represent a number data type just by passing P as an argument. What does it really mean? Then you are being very specific, like, okay, please store only the integer values. Okay, it stores only the integer values. It stores only the integer values. Sometimes what you would do, you would pass the another argument. Sometimes it is like, okay, number P comma S. It stores both integer and float values. Stores both integer and floating point values. Floating point values. Okay, sir, everything is fine. What is P and what is S? Which you are referring to? Yes, let us talk about this. Okay, P is nothing but P is precision. Precision. Okay. Precision is what? Precision is it is going to count all the digits from from left to right. So what do you really mean? Okay, let me take a simple value like 10 comma 35. If I ask you, hey, what is the precision for this number? If I ask you what is the precision of this number, what you would do? You would find the decimal point. This is the decimal point. So towards the left there are two so this part is called as what? Integer part. Okay, and the part that is coming after the decimal point, the towards the right side of the decimal point is called as what? Fractional part. Fractional part. Okay, how many digits are there in the integer part? There are 2 digits. 2 digits are there in the integer part. Plus how many digits are there in the fractional part? Again 2 digits. So the precision is 4. I can say that precision is what? Precision is the count from left to right of a given number. The count of all digits from left to right from a given number. Precision is the count of all digits from left to right, or count of all digits of a given number. Of a given number. However, when the number is a floating point number, the precision is the resultant value of integer and the fractional part digit. Okay, for any given number. Okay, let me take the number is 1234.6718. What is the precision? Come on, everyone answer.
7.
7 is the precision. Okay. For a given number 100.0002, what is the precision?
7.
7 only is the precision. Just count this, okay? Count the integer part and the fractional part. That is going to give you the precision. You have understood what is P now. You have understood from the number, you are using the number data type, okay? If you want to use the number data type, this number data type, as you are passing only P, it means you are passing only the precision. Passing only the precision. The precision can be this, the precision can be that. Right? It also means that, okay, if you are passing only P, you can only pass the integer type. You can pass only the integer data type without the fractional part. So this is valid, and this is valid. But when you are using P and S, if you want to use this data type with 2 arguments, it is what? Number P and S, P comma S, which means you are passing another argument which is called a scale. Scale is very simple. Scale is just like if you take a number like 1234.5 plus 789. Okay. The digits that are after the decimal point, or the digits that are right side of the decimal point, 789. The fractional part, the count of the fractional part. The count of the fractional part is here is what? 3. So the scale is what? The scale is also 3. The scale is just equal to the count of the number of digits that are there in the fractional part. It gives you the scale. For example, if I ask you what is the scale of 12.567, you should say 3. Why 3? Because the number of digits, only 3 digits are there in the fractional part. Scale is 3. If I ask you what is the scale of 1.233444555, what is the scale? Count the number of digits in the fractional part. Okay, 3, 6, 9. So 9 is the scale. Right, let us do the combinations. Let's do the combinations of integer and the fractional part. If I take a number like 123.567, if I ask you what is the precision, you would say what? The precision is 6. What is the scale? You would say that the scale is 3. Precision is both the combination of integer part, number of digits that is there in the integer part, the number of digits that is there in the fractional part. Precision, combination of 3 plus 3, 6. Scale is 3. If I ask you what is the precision and what is the scale of this number, you would say what? You should say 4, 3. Because precision is what? The number of digits in both integer and the fractional part, and the scale is what? The number of digits that is there in the fractional part. Right? Making sense? So in the number data type, so it is like you can do what? You can just use number p, which means it will represent only the integers, only the precision with no fractional part, only the integers. So if I give the count like, let us say that if I give the number, if I want to count it like 7. Here the 7 is what? 7 is the precision, which means you can pass up to 7 digits. This is valid. If you are passing something more than 7 digits, it becomes invalid. So this is valid. This is invalid. Now you are like, no, I want to pass floating point numbers also. I want also to pass the floating point numbers also. In that case, you will take what? You will take number, comma, okay, p comma s. P means what? Let us say that you are taking something like 6 comma 2. Now I will tell you, you just tell me whether it is allowed or not. I want to take something like 2.9. It is allowed or not? Let me tell you. Okay, so first find the precision. Okay, this number is representing 2 arguments. One is 6, second one is 2. The first one is representing, okay, the precision is what? Precision is 6. Okay, and the scale is what? Scale is what? Scale is 2. You have precision 6 and you have scale 2. Right, first one is representing precision. Second one is representing what? Second one is representing scale. So I have given a number like 2.9. Find the precision for this. Precision for this 2.9 is 3. I mean 2. Because one number in the integer part and one number in the fractional part. Only one digit are there. And the scale is what? And the scale is 1. Don't you think that both are within the limits? Yes, no? Don't you think that precision is 2, which is within the limit? So the maximum is 6 you can use, but it is 2 within the limit. Scale is 2 and you are giving 1. It is also within the limit. Accepted or not accepted? Okay, let us answer this. Now you tell me this is allowed or not. 23 or 24.567. Now tell me what is the precision for this? Everyone?
4.
4 is the precision. What is the scale for this?
2.
Scale is the 2. Okay. Don't you think that 4, 2? It means what? You are taking precision as 6 and scale as 2. Both are within the range now.
Yes, sir.
That's why it is also allowed. Okay. Now you tell me if this is allowed or not. I want to take a number like 6, 7. This is allowed or not?
Yeah.
Allowed. Why
Allowed.
allowed? Tell me how
Allowed.
many. Precision is what? Precision is
5.
5. What is the scale? Scale is 2.
2.
This is allowed. Okay. Now you tell me. Okay, I'm taking a number here. No space.
Invalid.
Why invalid? You have to give what?
7.
Precision is what?
7.
7.
7 is the precision. Scale is what? Scale is 2. Scale is matching, but precision is not matching. So this is what? This is completely invalid. Okay, now you tell me, valid or invalid?
Invalid.
Invalid. Why invalid? Precision is 1.
Scale
is
three.
what? I mean, precision is 4. I'm sorry. Precision is 4. Scale is what? Scale is 3. But we have to use the scale. The minimum value is for the scale is 2.
2.
Right. So let us go to the last one. So that 9. What about this?
Invalid.
Invalid. Right. Correct. Because there is a violation in the scale. Scale is getting violated.
Scale.
So by using the number data type, you can represent only the integer number. If you want to represent only the integer number, it is very simple. Okay. Very simple. You just use number followed by the precision. Precision can be anything, like if you are using 6, it means up to 6 digits you can use. If you want to use both floating point and the both the integer and the floating point, okay, you can use what? You can give the precision and you can give the scale. Okay, possibly the output has to be by the combination of, you can take any precision, or possibly the fractional part is going to be only up to 2 decimal values. Fractional part. The precision can be something like anything, okay, within the range, but ideally the fractional part will end up in only 2 fractional values. Okay. You can practice this example, okay, just by replacing the, instead of instead of what it is, instead of integer, just use the number itself here, and you can give any name, any column name, right? And you can give any table name. Follow this approach. Tomorrow we will understand the remaining data types. They are very easy. You have something like string, character data type. You have string or character data type, that we will see tomorrow.